sir. Well, now there's an easy out. There won't be an election in 11, so I guess the answer is no. Next question. You got a camera pointed at me as you asked that. Yeah. I don't have anything new to say about this. I haven't made a decision. I can't make a decision for months, and it may be by the time we are. I hope you can tell, so completely focused and fixed on the problems we have in Indiana and the chances we have, the opportunities we have. That's where my entire attention is and will be for the foreseeable future. I think it's very important to our future that we secure a majority in the Indiana House. I'm tired of having to wrestle and fight to keep spending down, and therefore taxes down every step of the way. Folks, just a little fact for you. The House majority last year voted for $1 billion a year more than the budget we passed. Now, we had to cut the budget we passed because revenue was short of that. $1 billion a year on top of that. If we had accepted that budget that they passed, we'd have been broke last December. And taxes would be up already. And, I'd like to not have to go through another wrestle like that. If we want to really reform education in this state, we've got a glorious opportunity to do it. We've got to at least be able to get reform ideas on the floor for a vote. And they're sincere about it, but they are opposed to every single possible change. Even that I agree with President Obama on education reform vastly more than our friends in the House majority do. Curious thing, but it's true. And so that's where my focus is, and that's what we're going to work on. And this other question may be moot by the time we're through that. We'll just have to see. Yes, sir. Yeah. Big question. I mean, on its surface, it'll wipe it out because it raises the Medicaid eligibility to 138% of the so-called poverty line. And the vast majority of people in our program for what we call HIP, Healthy Indiana Plan, for the uninsured, are below that line. Now, I don't know whether to have any hopes for this, but we just think HIP is so much better than old-fashioned Medicaid. HIP gives the individual, the family, a personal account and the power to make decisions up to a point. Then they have insurance. If something goes really wrong, they have a problem, then they're covered after that. That's what insurance is, right? When you insure real estate, it doesn't pay, to repaint the house every 10 years. It's there to protect people from the unexpected event. But health insurance, what we call health insurance, is for historical accidental reasons different. So HIP would, by the way, the participants in HIP have proven they are fully capable of making smart decisions for themselves. They don't need some wiser entity to make those calls for them, and it's very popular. Almost every single person who's enrolled in HIP renews. They're eligible. So I don't have any idea what the chances are, but we wrote a letter to the feds and said, instead of folding HIP into Medicaid, how about letting Indiana change Medicaid to look like HIP? They haven't said no. Yeah. Yeah. Every one we can think of. I mean, obviously, our focus is principally on employers or investors who might create the jobs but then bring the people. But as far as I'm concerned, keeping taxes down while everybody else is raising them. 40-odd states have raised taxes or are in the process now since this recession started. I've got this map I'd like to subject the audiences to. That, the states that are still in white on the map are down to like us and a handful of others. And that plus, absolutely plus the property tax reduction, I think are drawing people. If you go to Northwest Indiana, I was up there again last week. I mean, everywhere you go, you run into somebody who just moved in or knows somebody who moved in from Illinois. The trick up there, of course, is going to be get employers to, more employers. It's starting to have more employers to make the same move. There's more inertia there. But there are a lot of people coming in residentially. If any of you from, sorry? 30%? That's very interesting. Where are you from exactly, India? In Shirley, yeah. No, I hear this all the time up there. Well, that's a very interesting fact. If you heard, 30% of India's buyers in her region are coming from out of state. It'll be. I mentioned it earlier because it will be one of the most important indicia we could find that we are becoming a more vibrant, progressive state. If it turns out that this in-migration is not just a bump in what had been a generally down trend. So what we work on all the time. Yeah. Oh, cap and trade, yeah. Well, we spoke out loudly against it. And by the way, I did so without pretending to know really whether man-made CO2 is changing the world's climate in a negative way opposed to not changing or a positive way. I don't know. There's a lot of evidence really both ways. What I do know is this, that the program any program they have proposed wouldn't move the needle by their own computer models, the ones that all they have is computer models. The world hasn't been getting hotter. Computers say it will. I don't know. Could be. But the very same models say that these programs they have proposed won't budge the thermometer in 50 years. And meanwhile, we have a staggering, suffering economy that cannot stand any more burdens. And right now, national policy, believe me, if I were in the Obama White House looking at their own forecasts, which say that national debt is going to go as high as 90% of the economy in just a few years, if the economy grows at a rate faster than the last 50 years. So just to get the disaster, we have to have a 3.4% average growth rate for 10 years. Hasn't been done since the 50s. If I were I would say, holy smokes, we got to be in our own interest. If we want to pay for our health care bill and we want to do these other things, we got to be doing everything we can to encourage the private economy to grow. I'm sorry to say it, but I can't name one thing they've done that hasn't been anti-jobs. And cap and trade is the best example. The giant new tax on energy, it would crush Indiana worse than almost any state in America. When we're trying to bring people here, bring jobs here, what's one of our, what's the second, third, fourth thing we come to? Affordable energy. And if we lose that, it'll be a huge setback. So anyway, my sense is the flaws in that thing are visible. They couldn't even get their own party to go for that, and there is not going to be a cap and trade bill in this Congress. And if they can't pass one in this Congress, they're not going to pass one in the Congress that's coming, that I think is coming, which is going to be more balanced. And then the question becomes, do they try here to do it through executive fiat through the EPA, based on, I think, the worst, most specious of grounds? We'll have to see. I may become a fan of lawyers a few times a month, because we may have, somebody may have to sue until the cows come home.